Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Priska. I am a Zambian YouTuber and I love to create content. If you are watching me for the very first time, welcome to my channel. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always keeping up with me. And I would love for you to subscribe. Please don't forget to subscribe if you have been returning to this channel time after time. Don't forget to also hit that notification bell so that every time I upload a new video, you don't get to miss out on anything. So 10th October was World Mental Health Day, and I just really wanted to share about mental health and really share about my update concerning my wellness, because I have shared with you about my postpartum depression story and also mental health stress issues that I went through. And I feel like talking about mental health, the message would just never be enough, because when you look at the number of people who are committing suicide because of mental health issues and people suffering from depression and all kinds of mental health issues. I live in a society and come from a society where we feel like sharing our pain and sharing our stories should be a secret. And when you come out in the open, talk about suicidal issues that you could be facing and depression and just really going through mental stress issues, sometimes we are so wrongly perceived and even termed as like crazy or someone who's just like losing it. And sometimes these are the things that make people feel so afraid to really share their struggle in that moment. And I feel like sharing my story is just something that can always help and uplift somebody. And having said that, where I am at right now, I feel like I'm in such a great place. I never really thought that I could bounce back. When I was suffering like from mental stress, when I was going through mental stress issues, I just really felt like that would be my life forever. I never thought that I could bounce back. I never really thought that I could feel the best of myself. I felt like I am stuck in this because we don't just talk about these things in our society. So I really didn't even know who I was going to talk to, who I was going to confide in. And once I just had the ability to share my story on social media and just really say, look, I feel like I'm going through a breakdown. And at that point, I just really didn't care, because I felt like I just wanted to express myself. And I realized that talking about it made a whole difference, because I could be able to talk about it with my friends who are also going through their struggle. And I recognize that it is just so important to always find somebody to talk to. It is so important to tell your story, because you just really never know who's going to help you. And I know that sometimes we feel so afraid to be judged and perceived in this way that we don't want to be looked at. And of course, I didn't want people to think I'm crazy or I'm losing it. But I understood that in that moment, I was just going through something that I felt like I had never been through. When I could talk about it, my friends could tell me about moments where they felt like they wanted to take their own life because they just couldn't handle the stress. They couldn't handle what they were going in that particular time. And I realized, like, my gosh, we in our society are afraid to just really share who we are, what we're going through, because we don't want to be seen in a certain way. Like, we don't want to be seen as, I don't want people to think I'm weak, and I don't want people to think that I'm crazy, I'm mad, I'm losing it, but I need help in this moment. And so I have shared about like mental health wellness tips and the things that made me the things that I did that helped me cope through that moment. But then one of the things that also came relevant to me was really understanding and looking at that beyond the surface of just really, oh, it's just self-care and I'm just taking care of myself, which is good. But I looked deeply into why was I going through that situation. Like, even when I felt like I was going through like moments where I felt depressed, I started to really ask myself, like, is this happening for the first time, or have I experienced moments that are similar to this, though maybe not to this degree? And I'll really think through and try to really understand where my anxieties and where my worries were coming from, because those are the things that I was experiencing when I was just really mentally unhealthy. Is I had extreme anxieties, I had extreme worries, and I really tried to think about where was this coming from. And sometimes we need to recognize when something is a pattern and how long that has been going for, and when did it begin, because sometimes those things give us like clues as to why we feel a certain sense of instability. And then you can think and wonder, like, did something happen to you that traumatized you, an experience that made you feel so traumatized that it has affected you emotionally and mentally? And when you get down to the root of that, that will help you so much in your healing process. I have had to pray through my anxieties and worries and really just put everything to God, because I realized that I had just this sense of always feeling anxious and feeling unsafe. And some of these things were just not in that moment when I was stressed or overwhelmed. But I realized that I had also some areas of anxieties and stress because of certain things that just happened in my life as well. So I wouldn't just generalize that that was just the moment that I went through where I was just mentally unhealthy, but I think I could also understand like what place I was in, where I was coming from, things that I have been going through that made me feel so overwhelmed. So it's really important for you to really be able to share your story and be able to just talk to somebody, because there's so many things that people are going through, and we're just not acting out. Sometimes they're just things that have been bottled in us and have affected us emotionally and mentally. We People have come from broken homes and experienced relationships, traumatizing abuse in relationships, and all those things have um, changed us in some way and have created an impact in our lives, and have um, and now because of those things that we have been through, those things just manifest through some sense of anxiety, being overwhelmed, feeling afraid, being fearful, being rejection. Rejection is one of those things that cause people to just feel like they do not belong, and that just puts them in a place of depression because people are looking for love and the rejection is just putting them down. So it's very important that when you're going through an emotional and mentally low moment and low point, that you find some sort of help. If you can afford to see a therapist and a counselor, if there is somebody or a group support that can help you really process what you're going through, because I feel like when you're mentally and emotionally overwhelmed, sometimes you don't process things well and we bottle them up in our lives, and they cause so many disorders in our character, in the things that we do. And people may not understand us when you snap, when you are extremely angry, when you are acting like I just want to take my life. And so it's important that you find a great support system that can help you in those moments. And and being a believer and having my faith in God and believing Christ as my personal savior has been the biggest pillar in me being mentally healthy today. I feel like I wouldn't have done it without God because I just really had to lay everything out, like all my hurt, my pain, when I felt anxious, when I felt worried, when I felt overwhelmed, when I couldn't manage home and having a new baby. And so it's so important that you recognize exactly what you're going through and what is your need in that particular time. When you feel you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. When you feel you need to just cry, cry. Allow yourself to be in the moment, to see it as it is. Because when I went through what I was going through, I feel like I had gone through denial. Like, I can't believe this is happening to me, because it affected me so bad that I had to withdraw from my studies because I needed to focus on me. That was the best decision that I made. But I became more afraid because I thought, if I could withdraw from school because I'm just feeling mentally overwhelmed and stressed that I can't focus on my studies, is this going to stop me from being the best person when I'm at work? I was so afraid. But I had to recognize my need in the moment. Is I was a new mom dealing with postpartum depression, and then I became overwhelmed and that followed with being mentally stressed, overwhelmed, and exhausted. And putting school on top of that was just going to be really something that would weigh too much on my shoulders. And I remember thinking, like, man, what is everybody going to think? And I really thought, like, I am I'm actually doing this, and I want to finish school in a certain period of time, and now I have to withdraw. But I recognize that the most important thing that I needed in that moment was to focus on me, get back on track, and really just focus on wellness and getting back to being mentally healthy so that I can be the best person. When I recognize that need, I realize, like, you know what? I can withdraw school and then I can go back when I'm ready. I can go back when I am fully when I am fully and able to be present and focused the way I need to be. So I did withdraw from school. It is important that you recognize your need and that you don't make decisions that will cause you to be mentally unhealthy. If you're not in a great place in a relationship and it's affecting you, your mental health, you can make that decision to leave that relationship because it's affecting you in a negative way. You want that relationship to work, but that's not the person for you. Because if that person was for you, you wouldn't be in that state of mind. You wouldn't be in that state of um, being where you feel unhappy, where you feel like you are depressed because you're trying to please another person. Recognize that you are important. That is the most important thing that you need is you. You don't need that other person. So you can walk out of that relationship. So it's important that you recognize what is the most important need in that time. If you need to take time out from your work because you have been overwhelmed, take time. Sometimes you may need to just leave that job because it's affecting you. I truly believe this because I really thought to myself, God will give you, when God blesses you, in as much as you want the money and want so much that comes with the package, I think it's important that you ask yourself, like, God, is this for me? because I don't want this thing to be a burden to me. So if you take the job that pays you so well that you overlook your wellness and mental health because you have to work from 7 to I don't know how many hours, or you have to work all the days of the week without rest. I think these are the things that we need to think about, is to start making decisions respective of who you are, who you want to protect, who you want to preserve. I know you need the money, but your mental health is so important. And so you have to strike a balance with the decisions that you are making and make sure that you put yourself first. And with that being said, thank you so much for listening in. And I really hope I'll see you in the next video. So have a good week. Make sure that you take care of yourself. Take care of yourself mentally, emotionally. Put yourself first. Don't forget to love yourself as well. If you have not watched my video on wellness tips that I share, I'm going to link that in the description below. And yeah, thank you so much for listening in. Stay well and be blessed. Bye.